Hi, and thank you for visiting my channel. For more information, kindly subscribe and follow. Now let's get started.
WWE recently announced its partnership with TNA Wrestling. A veteran has thanked Triple H and Stephanie McMahon for this partnership. SoCalVal is the latest to comment on WWE's partnership with TNA. After working together for most of 2024, World Wrestling Entertainment officially announced its partnership with TNA Wrestling, allowing both promotions to share talent on each other's shows. Fans already saw glimpses of this partnership when Joe Hendry appeared in the 2025 Royal Rumble. Since this announcement, numerous fans and critics have shared their thoughts on it. During a recent exclusive interview with Sportskeeda Wrestling, TNA legend SoCalVal discussed the partnership between the two companies and said it's about time both promotions began working together. "I will definitely put it into the easiest phrase, it's about time. It's a very different time now than when I had left TNA and was kind of talking with WWE, and I don't think it was frowned upon per se, but it was certainly something that didn't seem attainable." She also thanked WWE Chief Content Officer Triple H and Stephanie McMahon for making this deal a possibility. "And so, I'd like to think it's maybe the Triple H's regime, or I'm not sure who to thank, my personal Jesus Stephanie McMahon, whoever is in charge to make this decision to open it up to TNA, who has been providing amazing talent for years during the women's revolution and things like that. I just love that there's a synergy there, and everyone's getting along. We're working together. Finally. So, thank you, WWE, thank you TNA. It's about time." 025-114. Triple H recently received a huge accomplishment. Triple H had a legendary career as an in-ring performer before taking over creative control of WWE. At the peak of his career, he was unstoppable in the ring and won multiple world titles. Recently, The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels announced that the Game would be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame this year as a solo act. After the announcement, the Cerebral Assassin received an honor as the state of Connecticut gave him the General Assembly official citation in recognition of his Hall of Fame induction. The Game also took to social media to react to this milestone. "An honor to receive. Thank you to all in the Connecticut State Assembly for the recognition and the excitement around this year's #WrestleMania. It will be interesting to see all the cross-branded opportunities that will arise out of WWE's partnership with TNA. The world of professional wrestling is a landscape built on competition, fierce rivalries, and unforgettable storylines. But in the midst of the brutality and the drama, there is something else that makes this business so special: camaraderie. For decades, fans and wrestlers alike have witnessed legends rise, fall, and evolve in the ever-changing world of the squared circle. And though the major promotions have often stood apart, there was one thing that was undeniable: the heart of professional wrestling beats strongest when we come together. For one wrestling veteran, that realization came after years of grinding in smaller promotions, watching the rise of the larger-than-life WWE, and being part of the storm that led to a groundbreaking partnership. The veteran in question had been through it all, from high-flying matches in small arenas to headline bouts under the bright lights of pay-per-views. After nearly 2 decades in the business, he had seen it all and done it all, except for one thing: bridging the gap between WWE and TNA, total non-stop action. But as fate would have it, a remarkable partnership was born, a union of companies that once seemed worlds apart. And this veteran couldn't help but feel a deep sense of gratitude toward two key figures responsible for making it happen: Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. In an emotional letter, the veteran would take a moment to reflect on how this collaboration had not only reshaped the landscape of professional wrestling but also altered his own career in ways he could never have imagined. This was a thank you that transcended the scripted nature of the business. It was personal. A history of competition and rivalry. Dear Triple H and Stephanie, it's been quite the ride, hasn't it? I think back on everything that's led to this moment, and I can't help but feel a sense of disbelief. You know, when I first stepped into the ring, the thought of WWE and TNA working together was something that seemed almost impossible. For years, the two companies operated as separate worlds, at times, even bitter rivals. The idea of them crossing paths in a meaningful way was like a fantasy to us old-timers, and the notion that we'd see a day where our talents could exchange and compete under a unified banner felt like a dream. Yet, here we are. I remember the first time I was really aware of TNA's existence. It was in the early 2000s when the company was carving out its niche in the industry. It was a challenge to WWE's dominance, and I'll be honest, I was one of those people who wondered if it could ever truly compete. But the more I watched, the more respect I developed for what DNA was trying to do. It was bold. It was different. And it reminded me of the early days of WWE, when we were hungry and willing to push boundaries. But the rivalry, that fierce, unyielding rivalry, never truly went away. As the years went on, WWE remained the king, the gold standard. I won't deny that there were moments I felt a certain bitterness toward WWE. We were all working so hard, and yet it felt like we would never get the recognition or the platform that WWE offered. For a long time, that competition became personal for many of us in TNA. There was always that unspoken sense that WWE was untouchable, and TNA, no matter how much talent it had, could never truly compete. That all began to change, though, when I heard the news of the partnership. I'll admit, my initial reaction was disbelief. I thought it was a publicity stunt or some kind of temporary gimmick. But as the details started to unfold, I began to understand the magnitude of what was happening. WWE and TNA were coming together for the good of the business. And the catalyst for that monumental shift? U2, Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. Building bridges, the visionaries. I know that, as fans, we're often focused on the storylines, the dramatic matches, and the entertainment value of what we see on screen. But what people often forget is that behind every great partnership, every crossover, and every moment of history-making television, there are the visionaries, the people who see the big picture. Triple H, Stephanie, you two were the ones who saw what was possible when the walls came down, and for that, I will forever be grateful. I remember when I first heard about your vision for the future of wrestling. I was in the locker room after a match in TNA, my body aching from a brutal series of bumps. The conversation among the guys was the usual stuff: who was getting over, who needed more promo work, the usual industry chatter. But then one of the younger guys, a kid who had just come in from the Indies, mentioned the partnership between WWE and TNA. The room went silent for a moment. Some laughed, some were skeptical, and a few of the older guys just shook their heads in disbelief. But I was intrigued. You see, I knew the business well enough to understand that change in this industry isn't just about shaking things up for the sake of it. It's about knowing what will work and what won't. It's about creating something that makes sense for the fans, for the talent, and for the legacy of the business itself. I didn't know if this partnership would last, but I did know one thing: this wasn't just a gimmick. This was something with substance. Triple H, Stephanie, you didn't just see two companies with different visions for the future of professional wrestling. You saw an opportunity to create something special. You understood that TNA had its place in the wrestling world, that it had built a solid foundation of talent that deserved recognition. You understood that WWE, for all its dominance, needed fresh perspectives and competition to keep the industry thriving. And most importantly, you saw the bigger picture, that professional wrestling is bigger than any one company. It's about the fans, the stories, and the athletes who put their bodies on the line every single night. You two didn't just reach across the aisle and shake hands with TNA, you opened the door for opportunity. You created a space for talent to grow, evolve, and share the spotlight with some of the greatest performers of all time. I know I speak for many in saying that this partnership, this opportunity, breathed new life into our careers. A new era in wrestling. There was a moment in time, not too long ago, when I thought I might be done with the business. I had been in the ring for so many years, and the travel, the injuries, and the grind were starting to take their toll. I began to wonder if I still had what it took to be relevant in an ever-changing landscape. But then the partnership between WWE and TNA became a reality, and it was like a new chapter had been written for all of us. Suddenly, the idea of being a part of something bigger than ourselves became real. I had the chance to work alongside some of the best talent in the world, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was truly contributing to the evolution of this industry. The matches, the crossovers, the new rivalries, they all felt fresh, and they all brought a renewed sense of excitement to what we do. But more than that, the partnership allowed me to experience something I hadn't felt in years: respect. The kind of respect that comes from knowing that the top brass sees your worth and is willing to give you a platform to showcase it. Triple H, Stephanie, you didn't just give us a chance to perform. You gave us a chance to shine. And for that, I will forever be grateful. I've heard the whispers, of course, the skeptics who wonder if this partnership was just a flash in the pan, a gimmick to sell a few extra pay-per-views. But to those people, I say this: you didn't see what I saw. You didn't see the impact it had on the locker rooms, on the morale of the wrestlers who felt forgotten by the industry. You didn't see the energy in the eyes of the fans when they realized that this partnership was real. It wasn't just about WWE and TNA. It was about something bigger, the future of professional wrestling. You two were the ones who made that future possible. The legacy of WWE and TNA's partnership. Triple H, Stephanie, when I look back on my career, there are a few moments that stand out. Winning championships, making history in the ring, creating rivalries that still echo today. But none of those moments will ever compare to the moment when WWE and TNA came together. It wasn't just a new era for the business. It was a new era for all of us in the ring, for the fans who supported us, and for the future stars who will follow in our footsteps. Thank you, from the bottom of my heart, for believing in something bigger. For pushing boundaries. For seeing what the future of professional wrestling could be, and for helping us all reach our potential. You've changed the business, and I will forever be proud to have been a part of it. With deep respect and gratitude,